It's a regular morning at Shawshank Prison. The guards are doing their usual head count, shouting at prisoners to stand up and be counted. But when they get to cell 237, something's wrong. The prisoner isn't there. The guard screams louder, thinking the guy must be sick or playing dead. But when he looks closer, his jaw drops. The cell is completely empty. Not just empty, impossible. This is the most secure prison in Maine. Nobody escapes from Shawshank, ever. But somehow, Andy Dufresne had vanished like a ghost. The warden rushes over, furious and confused. In his anger, he picks up a rock and hurls it at the wall. But instead of bouncing off, the rock punches right through a movie poster hanging there. Behind it? A tunnel. A perfectly carved tunnel that led straight to freedom. This is the story of how my best friend pulled off the most legendary prison escape in history. And trust me, it's way crazier than you think. It was 1947, and I'd already been in this place for years. Every time new prisoners showed up, us old guys would make bets on who would break first. You know how it is. Prison's scary, and most people crack on their first night. This time, there was this quiet banker named Andy Dufresne. Everyone else was betting on the fat guy to lose it first, but something about Andy caught my eye. He looked different, calm, you know? So I bet on him instead. I was wrong. The fat guy started crying first. But here's the thing. Andy never broke. Not that night, not ever. And that night, something terrible happened. The guard, Captain Hadley, beat that crying man to death just for making noise. Welcome to Shawshank. Andy watched it all happen, and I could see him thinking. Most guys would be terrified, but Andy, he was already making plans. About a month later, Andy came up to me. See, I was the guy who could get things. Need cigarettes? I got them. Need a magazine? I could find it. That's how I survived in here. Andy wanted something weird, though. A tiny rock hammer, like really small. I thought maybe he wanted to dig a tunnel or something, so I laughed. With that little thing, you'd need 600 years to dig out of here. But I got it for him anyway. Seemed harmless enough. For the next 2 years, Andy had a rough time. There was this gang called the Sisters who kept bothering him and beating him up. But Andy never gave up fighting them off. Every time they hurt him, he'd get back up. That's just who he was. Things started changing when we got picked to fix the prison roof. It was hot work, but at least we were outside in the sun. While we worked, Andy overheard Captain Hadley complaining about taxes. The guy was going to lose a bunch of money when his brother died and left him stuff. Now, most prisoners would mind their own business. But Andy used to be a banker, so he knew about money stuff. He walked right up to Hadley, this guy who'd killed someone just for crying, and offered to help him save that money. I thought Hadley was going to throw Andy off the roof, but Andy explained how Hadley could give the money to his wife as a gift and not pay any taxes. All Andy wanted in return was cold beers for all of us workers. And you know what? It worked. We spent that afternoon sitting on the roof, drinking ice-cold beer in the sunshine, feeling like free men. It was the first time in years I felt human again, and it was all because of Andy. After that, everyone in the prison started respecting Andy. The warden noticed his skills with money and made him do tax returns for all the guards. Andy became important, and in prison, being important keeps you alive. But Andy wanted to do more than just survive. He wanted to make the prison library better, give guys something to read and learn. When the warden said no, Andy started writing letters to the government. One letter every week, asking for money for books. Most of us thought he was wasting his time, but Andy kept writing. After 6 years, he said, "I've been writing 1 letter a week. From now on, I'll write 2 letters a week." That was Andy for you. He never gave up on anything. There was this old man named Brooks who ran the library. He'd been in prison for 50 years. That's longer than you've been alive, times 3. When they said he could go free, he totally lost it. He grabbed a knife and threatened to hurt someone because he didn't want to leave. See, Brooks was scared of the outside world. Prison was the only home he knew. I had to explain it to Andy. He's been here so long, he can't imagine living anywhere else. First you hate these walls, then you get used to them. After enough time, you need them. They let Brooks out anyway. 3 days later, he killed himself. He carved "Brooks was here" on a wooden beam and gave up. The outside world was too scary for him. That really messed with Andy's head. 6 years after Andy started writing those letters, the government finally sent some money for the library. It wasn't much, just $200 and some old books. But in one of those boxes, Andy found something special, a record of beautiful opera music. What Andy did next was either really brave or really stupid. He locked himself in the warden's office and played that music over the prison speakers so everyone could hear it. For a few minutes, every single prisoner stopped what they were doing and just listened to something beautiful. It was like magic. Guys who hadn't smiled in years were smiling. Even the guards looked peaceful. For those few minutes, we weren't prisoners. We were just people listening to something amazing. Andy got thrown in solitary confinement for 2 weeks for that stunt. But when he came out, he said it was worth it. There are things inside us that prison can't touch, he told me. That's hope. I thought he was crazy. Hope seemed dangerous to me, but Andy believed in it. Around this time, I was trying to get out of prison too. I'd been locked up for 30 years and went to my second parole hearing. The first time, 20 years earlier, I'd tried to impress them, promised I was a changed man. They said no. This second time, I was more honest but also more tired. 30 years in prison changes you. When they rejected me again, I wasn't even surprised. I'd given up on ever getting out. Andy tried to cheer me up, but I told him to stop dreaming. Dreams hurt too much in a place like this. Then this young guy named Tommy showed up. He was about your age when he first got arrested, and he'd been in and out of prison ever since. But he was funny and smart, and Andy started helping him study for his high school diploma. Tommy told us a story that blew our minds. At another prison, he'd met a guy who bragged about killing a rich man and his wife, then letting some banker take the blame. The story matched exactly what happened to Andy. Andy got super excited and went to the warden, begging for a new trial. But here's the thing. The warden was using Andy to hide dirty money he was making from prison scams. If Andy got out, the warden would go to jail. A few days later, Tommy was dead. They said he tried to escape and got shot, but we all knew the truth. The warden had him killed to keep his secret safe. That's when something changed in Andy. For 19 years, he'd kept believing in justice and fairness, but watching an innocent kid die just for telling the truth, that broke his heart. He stopped helping the warden with his money schemes. They threw him in solitary for a month as punishment. When he came out, he seemed different, sadder, but also more determined. He told me about his dream, a place called Zihuatanejo on the beach in Mexico. He wanted to buy a boat and take tourists fishing. It sounded like paradise, but I told him to stop dreaming. Get busy living or get busy dying, he said. I didn't understand what he meant then. There was this big thunderstorm one night and I couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong, like the air before a tornado. When morning came and Andy didn't show up for roll call, I knew something had happened. They found his cell empty. Behind the poster on his wall, the one of the movie star, there was a hole, a tunnel. Andy had been digging for 19 years with that tiny rock hammer I'd gotten him. Every night, chip by chip, he'd carved his way through the wall. He'd hidden the dirt in his pockets and scattered it in the yard during his daily walks. For 19 years. Can you imagine having that much patience? The tunnel led to a sewage pipe. Andy had crawled through 500 yards of the most disgusting stuff you can imagine to get out. Then he disappeared into the storm with all the evidence of the warden's crimes. The next morning, the newspapers had the whole story. Andy had mailed all the proof of the warden's corruption to reporters. Police swarmed the prison. Captain Hadley got arrested, and the warden shot himself rather than face jail. Andy had done it. He'd escaped from the most secure prison in the state and brought down the corrupt system that had kept him there. It was like something out of a movie, except it was real. Years went by after Andy's escape. Everyone talked about the legend of his breakout, but I missed my friend. Then came my third chance at parole, 40 years after I'd first been locked up. This time, I didn't try to impress anyone. When they asked if I was rehabilitated, whatever that means, I told them the truth. I was a stupid kid who did something terrible, I said. That kid's gone now. I'm just a tired old man who wants to stop hurting people and stop being hurt. Maybe they felt sorry for me, or maybe they just needed space for younger criminals. Either way, they let me out. Walking out of prison after 40 years was terrifying. Everything had changed. More cars, bigger buildings, faster everything. I ended up in the same halfway house where Brooks had lived, working at the same grocery store. Like Brooks, I thought about doing something stupid to get sent back to prison. The outside world felt cold and confusing. But I remembered something Andy had told me before he escaped. He'd hidden something for me under a tree in a field. So I went there and found a box with money and a letter. Andy was waiting for me in Mexico. He needed help with his new life and wanted me to come find him. For the first time in 40 years, I felt hope. Before I left, I carved my name next to Brooks on that wooden beam. Brooks was here, so was Red. Same place, two different endings. I broke my parole and traveled to Mexico, following Andy's directions. When I finally saw him on that beach, working on an old boat, my heart almost exploded with happiness. "Red!" he yelled, and ran over to hug me. He looked healthy and free and happy. We both started crying, the good kind of crying. Sitting here now on this beautiful beach, watching Andy fix up boats and talk to tourists, I finally understand what he meant all those years ago. Hope isn't dangerous. Giving up is dangerous. Andy spent 19 years chipping away at a wall with a tiny hammer, not because it was easy, but because he never stopped believing he could do it. Every single night he chose hope over despair. Prison can lock up your body and steal your years, but it can't touch the part of you that dreams. Andy taught me that some people are just too strong to be caged forever. The most amazing thing? He didn't just escape for himself. He waited for me. After all those years of freedom, he still wanted his old friend by his side. That's what real friendship looks like. That's what hope can do. And that's why I'm here, helping my best friend run a boat business on the most beautiful beach in the world, proving that sometimes, just sometimes, the good guys really do win.